and hit the room. Yeah. That way I can email them the recording so they can kind of see what we discussed as opposed to sending out, additional notes, rehashing everything. Hey Katima, how are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm good.
Good.
Thanks for organizing this.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I think right now we're just waiting on Melanie to jump on board. Yeah, just Melanie, I think at this point. It's, the only other person we're waiting on. So give a few more minutes. And it's in the meantime, anybody had any exciting plans? Ate anything good? Saw anything good? Anything that made you laugh?
Saw Uncharted yesterday. It could have been better, but it
Oh,
wasn't too bad.
okay.
Good action.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. So you like the characters, the actors for the characters?
Yeah, I definitely think that they had a good pick for the actors, for the characters. My only complaint about the whole movie, it was too much story building, and only the last like 40 minutes was all the action. But I hope they do a sequel because I think it really caught its stride at the end.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game, so I'm looking forward to the movie.
Yeah, if you enjoyed the game, you'll definitely like it.
Okay.
What
Anybody?
movie is this? What movie was this? Or is this?
Uncharted.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
based on a video game. It has Mark Wahlberg and Spider-Man. I forget his name.
Oh,
Tom
Tobey
Holland.
Maguire.
No, not Tobey Maguire, the newest Spider-Man.
Tom
Oh,
Holland.
Right, Tom Holland.
Oh, okay. Have to check it out.
I'm actually excited because I've been diving into the archives at several universities for my dissertation idea, and I'm just learning like so much. And it's just at first I was kind of stuck in trying to focus my research on quantitative and qualitative, but now I'm pursuing a historical dissertation, which is so much better for me. It's just my interests, my writing style, everything just speaks to historical research. So I'm just having a good time with it now. How's everyone else's experience preparing for the dissertation and all of that?
I'm still too new into it to have really started. But I am an archivist at a university. So
Oh, wow. Which university?
Mercer University in Erie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So do you like that work? Do you like archiving historical documents and stuff?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I worked for the University of Pittsburgh and now here. I've really enjoyed it.
So do you plan to write a historical dissertation?
Probably. That's what my one master's is in history, so it'd be easier just to stick with the history stuff.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. I'm glad it's an option. I think I would have really, it would have been painful for me to write a qualitative or quantitative dissertation.
Yeah, I can understand that.
How about you, Alice? Where are you in the process with the program?
I keep a spreadsheet on all that stuff, but I think I should be up for comps in fall or either spring of next year.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if all goes well for me, I'll do comps either in August or January.
Okay. Well, I don't know what happened with Melanie. I know she said that she was going to be here. Maybe she's just still running a little bit late. I'm slacking her now to see. Well, just slacking, period.
So are there 7 of us total in the group? Is that correct?
I think with Scott, Kara, it would have, actually, let me see here. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Or no, maybe it's 8.
My God said, unless it's somebody I'm missing here. I think that's all of us.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully Melanie will join us if she can. Maybe something happened, but I want to go ahead on and get started because I know it's still Saturday. I know we still all have plans, things that we want to do in terms of the paper. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go ahead on and review the organizational models to kind of see which ones or which one we would like to utilize for our paper. And then we can start thinking about in terms of what exactly it is that we want to accomplish with this university. I was kind of hoping that in terms of background that we kind of set it up similar to how the case studies are set up, where they provide at least a little bit of history, even though it's made up history, of course, because it's our university, but kind of set it up in terms of maybe there's a new president or the president's already been there. And this is this kind of institution, public versus private, with this many students. And she wants to implement a new organizational model that incorporates, I don't know, more collaboration or participative energy from faculty, staff, and students. And so she decided to go with a feminist model and, but something that just kind of sets it up. So as we are writing the paper, we're kind of all on the same page, of course, in terms of what we want to accomplish. Your thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts about this?
That sounds great. I think I guess for me, I'm just wondering how are we going to divide the work?
So I looked at the way that group 2 was structuring theirs, and because I wasn't sure like how the groups, so if the groups had been solidified. So when I was in group 2, not that I was a part of group 2, but looking at their work, I need to change this here from 10 to 20, because as you guys know that Professor Oliver Whitehurst, she said, do as many pages as it took to get the assignment done. So minimum 10, max 20.
That's
But
good.
but in terms of divvying up the work, this is kind of the structure that they had laid out in there. So I figured we could follow the same as well, where we, depending on the number of pages we wanted to have per section, it allowed us to at least accomplish the minimum number of pages or either go over or stay somewhere in between, And then depending on who's responsible for writing that section, if it's a total of 4 to 6 pages between that particular section, then those 2 members who are responsible for writing that particular section, you just split it up. So if we decide to go with 4 pages for that section or however many pages, then those 2 members responsible know that they have at least 2 pages each that they'll need to do, depending on how they want to design that area. So maybe in this first part here where it says, how does the model meet the needs of diverse populations? Depending on the organizational structures that we choose, who's ever responsible for that particular area, maybe one person can talk about how I don't know, if we chose the feminist model, how the feminist model meets the needs of diverse populations. And if we chose, I don't know, maybe the collegial aspect, the other person could write about how the collegial aspect,
Mm-hmm.
So it's divvied up in that way so that all of us are writing in between maybe 2 to 3 pages each total for the project. You shouldn't be writing 5 pages on your own for this project at all, especially not with it being 10 to 20 pages.
Right. Yeah, sounds good.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of using the feminists and the collegial together.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think feminist, collegial, and there was another one, maybe cultural.
So these are our top runners: cultural, feminist, and which one was the other one you guys said?
Collegiate.
Collegial.
Collegial. So do we want to have 3 models operating at the same time? Do we want to have 2 models operating at the same time? How do you guys want to do that?
I think you can combine them because they all kind of speak to the strengths of each other's qualities, I guess. I'm trying to open up my book here.
Well, the reason why I say that too, because as you're writing out these sections here, so I understand that the principles can be combined. So I guess who's ever responsible for that section, you guys can figure out.
Just which aspects to emphasize, basically.
Exactly, in terms of meeting a diverse population, but that information will also still need to be incorporated into the introduction and background
Right.
as well, because if we're setting it up, then we need to make sure that we're talking about those different areas, you know, in terms of cultural, the collegial, and, you know, those, how they're going to work together before we go into the nitty gritty aspects of it.
Right. I think you're going to want at least some reference to each of the structures we're choosing in each of the sections to make sure we're getting that overlap and representation of it.
Right.
Mhm.
For consistency. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I
think we
think
should
one of the,
Go ahead.
this is Cheryl. I was looking at what are we trying to achieve with our university. So looking at that, I know we've read a lot about shared governance. We read about a little bit of everything, but shared governance has always popped out, accountability, community involvement. So with that being said, we're choosing 3 organizational structures. What are we going to link it to? What achievement for our university? What theme are we going to link it with? And that will help guide us in regards to using a different type of organizational structures.
Right. Like, are we going toward research?
Mhm.
Are we going toward making it financially massive?
Yeah, I agree. You know, again, you know, do we want to increase accessibility to first-gen low-income students? Do we want to, I don't know, like Kara was saying, inheritance, fundraising efforts for, I don't know, more research or scholarships, or I don't know.
So we need to determine what type of university, what type of college we're going to create here. So is it going to be a public, private, 4-year, 2-year? Like what do rural, urban? Maybe if we narrow that down, we can then decide how to dive into the other stuff.
Well, my first thought was private. I currently work at a private institution, and private institutions have, to me, more flexibility in the way in which they govern themselves than having to be accountable to the state, especially for funding and resources and stuff. They don't necessarily have to abide by those particular rules. So in structuring or coming up with an organizational structure, we wouldn't necessarily have to talk about the ways in which, I mean, they still have, of course, a board of trustees and those kinds of entities as well at the school, but I don't think we would have to bring in or talk about state influence as being part of the way in which where our finances come from or our resources come from, because most private institutions usually have larger endowments as well. So those are the kind of things that I thought about. And in terms of implementing something, I mean, if it's more bureaucratic, then of course, whatever the tops, you know how that goes, that whole structure is there. Not saying that we want a bureaucratic structure, but there just seems to be more flexibility in how things are implemented without too much oversight of external stakeholders
I agree with
at
you.
that
100
level.
I agree
Yeah, I
as
agree with
well.
you 100% because it's going to be
Mhm.
way too hard bringing in the state and other government entities. If we go private, then it'll be much easier for us to write what we want to. And I also think if we cover access as the main point, access would be maybe easier than some of the others, but that's my thought.
I agree. So
What is
to higher
access? Yeah,
education.
what does that pertain to? Access.
When I
It could be
think in
pertaining,
oh, go ahead, Brian.
it could be pertaining to, like Alice said, it could be pertaining to first generation students. It could be pertaining to enrollment issues, maybe technology access. It could be access to different sources on campus that, it could be very wide open.
Right, underrepresented students, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yep,
So
sounds good.
private
Thank you.
institution. That's good. So where? In the city, in a small town?
Suburbs, rural, urban, anybody? Because again, like I said, I think we should like really, again, going back to our case studies, really building out where this university is. Plus, I think that also eats up sometimes the word count pages and stuff like that. That's another thing too I wanted to talk to you guys about too, just in terms of, honestly, in terms of the group project. Like, how much work do you want to put into it? Because I feel like we have a professor who, I know she's adjunct, and it's clear that she didn't design this course. I don't know how much work you guys want to put into it. I know that we want to pass and earn an A on this course, but also want to see where you guys at in terms of the level of work that you want to put into it, the amount of research that's going into it as well, just so that we're honest in terms of our output.
Have you guys had any feedback aside from a score?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think if we put too much effort into it, then it's going to be wasted, because I don't know if she's reading this stuff.
Yeah,
I would agree.
that's where I was coming from too. I think that we could do this where it's solid, but I don't want to spend hours.
Well, I think 2 or 3 pages, that's, if our sections are just 2 or 3 pages and we make sure that it's all, aligned, then I don't see us spending, too many hours doing this.
Okay, cool. All right.
I think since we are looking at access and we're considering using a private type of university or college, we can kind of, if the team agrees, we can use a model that's already present, like in regards to a location, all of that good stuff. So we could agree with a university that's already, that we can look at and say, okay, it's here, and use it as our guide, kind of add a little bit to match our what we're trying to achieve for this paper. But for the most part, like Alice said, we can use something similar to where where her university is, or find one that's similar and then build around it. Change the name, make up our own name, and just make it ours. But use a model that's already out there instead of making one up.
Yeah, we could definitely use another school as a model, but I'm also happy to come up with an imaginary university. I'm a creative writer, so I enjoy doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I would be on board to it. I don't know. I think it would be easier if we made up our own stuff than necessarily chooses another school as a model, because now we're doing additional research in that particular school, their particular current model, and then how we would come in and basically rewrite their model, so to speak. Is that what you're talking about?
No, basically with the introduction and background. So say for instance, I don't know who was talking about the urban, suburban, what we're gonna do, all that. But if we was to choose a school that's already a university that's private, we know their mission, it's kind of similar to, we can kind of change it to what we're looking at, collegial, cultural, feminist. We can make our own mission vision. Number of students, get an idea. We can already, if we choose a university as a model, we already know whether it's rural, et cetera, in the landscape. So that can kind of help you know, we have just a model. Now, model is just something you can build off of it, not nothing that we're just trying to say, boom, we're going to use this and dig into their data now, because then that's what we're going to do for the next sections, 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Well, that I feel like some of the things that we need for this imaginary university, we could quickly come up with. I mean, we've already said it's private. We're saying it's suburban, right? We could imagine how many students do we want to say? 20,000 students go to the school. They have a board of trustees. Their financials are predominantly endowments, right? These are things we've already come up with so far. We could come up with a demographic that's consistent with a suburban area in the East Coast, if you want to say East Coast, or West Coast or Midwest. I don't think it's going to be hard to create a place.
I don't think so either.
I think too, if we create our place, we have a little bit of flexibility to kind of work forwards and backwards based on what we're looking for. You know, as we're coming up with our organizational structure, we can kind of fill our institution based on kind of what direction we want to go, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So private, suburban. How many students?
Let's say under 10,000.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you're
so
talking about a private university. And we
So-
doing private 4-year university? 10 to 12,000? Or did you just say 10,000?
I said about 10,000.
So private 4-year. Suburban. Under 10,000.
Or 10,000?
Okay. And so it's if it's suburban, that means it's outside, it's close to a major metropolitan area. So the school might pull from a lot of pull students from diverse backgrounds or something.
Mhm. Or just attract, I mean, because private universities, like when I think about Emory University, they attract a lot of international students. They have more international students than they do local, but I guess in terms of, I guess I should say,
Yeah, we're
since
thinking
we're
about
making up our own.
Uh-huh. I was just thinking about access. If we're trying to increase access, are we trying to increase access to students in this country, right? Or for students in the United States?
Yes, that could be part of her. Are we looking at a new president is on board and these are the things that she's trying to implement? Is that all a part of the background that we're providing as far as this university goes?
That sounds good. New president, interested in creating or increasing access to the institution.
FLI students?
Yeah, makes sense.
Community involvement?
So community involvement, you can have members of the board or from the community, some members of the board of trustees, right?
Yeah, and then I'm also thinking too, do we want it, depending on the organizational structure that we have, if we're talking about more participative governance too, bringing in local members from local businesses to come in and influence policy, or, you know, having access, or students being, having access to those kind of students, helping to shape policies. different programs that are being offered.
Yeah, that makes sense because that would possibly help the college to grow. Having access to business resources, business leaders resources as well.
Yeah, because I think I don't know if you guys grew up, I don't know where everybody grew up, but sometimes in the university is the main center of some of these small towns, but sometimes those local community organizations are left out of the conversation. And they're the ones actually doing the work on the ground.
Right.
Which I never understand, but
So yeah, and that kind of speaks to like the cultural aspect of what we're doing. The college culture is going to have a lot of that embedded in it. Community support and all of that.
okay. So if I'm just going through the rubric here, again, we got an introduction and background that's going to kind of set up in terms of what the university is like, incorporating the private 4-year suburban, number of students, the current demographic, and then of course, what the new president is trying to achieve going forward under her leadership, making it more collaborative, participative, more access oriented, utilizing these particular models, which is be fleshed out here in number 1. Number 2, where it says identifies relevant and valid information to support decision making. I think that's already going to be incorporated into into number 1, because it just makes sense that if you're talking about an organization, but you're going to already flesh that out to incorporate why it makes sense that you're choosing that model. It's not like we're just going to say, oh, we chose this model because A. So it makes sense there. We don't necessarily need anyone else to talk about that specifically. And then on number 3, I think that's where we bring in more of the theorists and helping to support why these particular models make sense for governance, governance wise, or why it makes sense to have these models for access, what it means, the implications that it has. And then number 3, in terms of constraints, financial, cultural implementation, that kind of stuff. I mean, you're going to get a lot of that, I think, from out of Manning, and then whatever some of the other books that we talk about we've had.
So I would like to work on section 4.
Who is that? Katima?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to jump into section 1. Yeah, the diverse population part.
Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't mind writing the introduction and background.
And you can, this is Cheryl. You can add me for 2. Research it for, is this the section you were mentioning, Alice, regarding the theorists, or was that section 3? Which one was that?
That's 3.
Okay, 3, please.
I'm going to add myself to 2 with Kara. And remember, guys, we're still missing Scott, Ramon, and Melanie as well.
Okay, so they have plenty of areas to choose from, and looks like we have a good plan here. And so and I guess we need a Google Doc or something so we can just all kind of share a file.
So I created a Google Drive. Let me see here. On Google Drive, I think I sent everybody a link, so everybody should have access to be able to download their work here.
I don't think I have access to it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think I have it either.
I don't think I saw it. Maybe I just passed over it.
So
know
is
when
is it a shared document, or we have to combine it all at once? Like,
Well, this is a folder I created. I'm not a big fan of Google. The reason why I just created this as a file folder is so that everybody can put their documents in there when they're done and then just combine it all as one, because I'm not a big fan of Google formatting. I don't think it's the best. I know it's convenient, but I just don't think it's the best as just working on a regular Word document. But that's just me. If somebody is great at Google Docs, then I'll send you my stuff in Word and then you could copy and paste it over into Google. But I just thought maybe we could just throw it all into one folder and then combine it all. And then we all take a moment, not take a moment, but take time to read through the entire paper to make sure that, is solid and that it's reading clean and clear. And then any additions that we have, we meet again. And then flesh out those edits that need to take place.
could we possibly do both, where you can upload the document but also share in a Google Drive, not Google Drive, a Google Doc, so that I can see what others are writing? Because like I need to see the introduction to get a good sense of how this organization is, since Brian's going to create that, right? So that's something I kind of need to read as I'm working on my section of the paper. I feel like we need to see each other's sections. And so if we can see them in progress, that would be great. Unless
So
everyone's going to continuously save their document
Okay.
several
So-
times or something.
Okay. So who's good at Google Docs?
I could do it.
Okay, cool. That's all I needed to know. Who was ever good at Google Docs?
Does everyone have a Gmail account? Because it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
How about everyone email me their Gmail, and then I'll set it up through your Gmail account, and that way it'll just work a lot smoother.
Yeah, I mean, and then if we could also do it Alice's way as well, if post our
Oh,
documents.
no. Whatever's going to be easy for the group. That's fine with me. Whatever's going to be easiest for the group.
Yeah, I feel like that'll help us to expedite revising it and everything.
I think you're missing Melanie's name up at the top too, because there's 5 of us here and 3 missing.
Oh, you are right. And then I'll come back and get her stuff later.
Is Melanie, she's on the West Coast, right? Is she the person?
No, that's me.
Oh, that's you.
She might be too, but
All right, so even if we all did, I mean, because the introduction doesn't really need 2 pages. So, I mean,
Well, it depends how detailed Brian wants to be.
well, that's true.
I'll try to get at least 1.5 pages, and then I'll organize the Google. I'll even format the document
Okay,
for
cool.
citations or anything like that. I'll do whatever anyone needs. I'm really good at technology, so I can.
Oh, even better. Okay, cool. Brian's our tech X. Brian.
Brian, I just added mine as well. My Gmail account is in chat. If you want to check that out.
Awesome. See it.
Oh yeah.
Just sent mine as well.
Oh no, that's my work email address.
So when is the project due? Because I'm thinking maybe if possible, if we could meet like maybe a few days or so before it's due, for all of us to go over the document and make sure it's ready to go. I think that would be good.
So the paper is due week 7 is when the paper is supposed to be due. We're on week 4 now. Let's see here. So week 5 would be the 21st of February. Week 6 would be the 28th. So week 7 would be that Friday, March 11th. Let's see. Yeah, because we're on week 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so that 11th. It would
So
be
it's-
due that Friday.
It's due that Friday. Okay. So would it be possible for us to meet that weekend before it's due? And we could maybe, that gives us like a deadline to write our parts and try to make sure the document is all aligned and everything. What do you think, group?
Works for me.
Because I just want to make sure I get it on my calendar.
All right, so really quickly,
So the week before the 11th, that would be the 5th. If it's another Saturday, it would be the 5th.
All right, so meeting. You said it was what day?
March 5th.
March 5th.
Mhm.
Okay, so that means we want all of our, because by March 5th, I'm assuming that all of the sections will be done before that time, so that when we're meeting on March 5th, all we're doing is talking about edits that need to be made and just a cleanup.
Right.
Okay,
Making sure it's ready for submission.
so that means everybody's work actually needs to be turned in, work needs to be completed.
And there's also a PowerPoint presentation component.
And that'll be due that following, because it's due week 8. So if March 11th is, so that'd be due at the 18th.
Okay. So will we just take the paper that we write, just write it into slides and do it that way? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, that's probably what makes the most sense. Why try to
Right.
go crazy
Okay.
with it?
Yeah, it'll be easiest that way.
Maybe add some pictures.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta have some visuals.
And I think it's once to voice over the presentation, or are we doing it? I don't
Oh,
think
that's right. Yeah, there's supposed to be audio, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
So
So
I know
we're-
last group project I did in this program, we met to record our presentation, and that was just a nightmare to do. So I think it is a great idea if we each do our own little audio setup, but there needs to be some sort of, at the end of your presentation, you would basically introduce the next presentation, so then it flows together.
well, I think, I guess my experience was different with my team, because when we did it all as one, it ran smoothly because we already kind of knew the outline of what we were going to be reporting on, because the presentation was already set and done. And if we're going to do it that way, that's fine. But I think depending on those individuals that are working on those sections, I think it'll be easier if those two people are actually talking, are managing those two sections as one, as opposed to this one's coming, then this one's coming, if that makes sense. Because you're essentially talking about the same area.
Right.
So why not just record it together?
That would be great if we can organize it. I mean, we have people missing today, so that might be a challenge.
Well, hopefully in the future, since, because this was, we kind of wanted to get on the ball and get this started. So now that we actually have a timeline in place, maybe that'll help people, get a little bit more organized in terms of being here and saying, hey, this time will work, that time won't work. And
So when should we plan for the recording of the presentation then? That same March 5th date, or? maybe the following Saturday, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if that March 5th date, I don't think that'd be good. I think that day we ought to just dedicate strictly towards just clean up, making any edits and clean up, and then because the and then discussing presentation, because we still need to come up with a template. Brian, I don't know if you still want to do a Google slide, or if you want to go with it, if we want to go with different kind of PowerPoint templates to use.
We can, it doesn't, anything will work for me. I can make anything happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
So then we're going to tentatively schedule for the 12th for the presentation recording.
What if we develop a script and have someone just read it? Like, we can do another Google Doc and just, it's kind of like cutting and pasting from our actual slides, or our sections, and maybe make some few adjustments, but that should be we could have a script and it should run 30 minutes. Have someone
but with
read
this,
that.
with the script, are you saying that only one person is going to be reading, because that presentation still has to incorporate everybody?
Right.
Oh
Everyone.
yeah, but we can use one voice. So say for instance, if it's a script and for each section is, say for instance, section A, that group, they contribute their section in the script. So I mean, everyone's contributing, but this one person is reading it. So one person isn't writing it, but one person is reading, rather than having, okay, do you have your group read your audio? Or did we meet with my two people, my person and me, that we meet and do our audio? That, I can see where that can be a lot, but that's just a suggestion.
I think we're all required to talk.
Yeah, I think so too. Because even in the other presentation that I had to do, Cheryl, that professor was very, I mean, everybody needed to be, had to contribute in some kind of way
Right.
as far as the presentation goes. So you were required to speak during the presentation.
And it's 30 minutes, so we can just divide it up by 8 and, make sure no one goes over.
I mean, we can make sure that within, we're, as far as scripting goes,
I mean, I'm sure if we're not exactly at 30 minutes, I don't think this professor is gonna like care.
Yeah, just as long as we're not completely under, because the thing is, I mean, just because she's not paying attention doesn't mean others from the program at some point might not drop in and see what we're doing. So I just rather we try to present the best presentation we can, and meet the requirements at least.
What the
So-
best thing to do might be is get everyone on a Zoom call, record it, and then we present as we're doing it right now, but we practice first. And then we take that recording, and that recording be what we submit.
Yeah, I think that's what Alice was suggesting.
yeah, that's what we did
Can we
on
do
our
a
last
Zoom?
final project, and it worked out just fine. We did it via Zoom like this, and everybody just popped in. We had the PowerPoint presentation running, and the next crew, like, I think it was either Cheryl or Katima, I can't remember which one of you guys said it, but the last crew introduced the next section, and then the next section just took over, and then it just flowed like that. And then
Right.
whoever started with the intro, they ended the conclusion part as well. So if Brian started the intro, then he ended it with the conclusion as well, and then did a wrap up.
Were we in a group together, Alice? It's like the program is just blurring for me. I know I was in a group project.
Was
in a
it the
class.
change in populations one? Because we did the Abraham Lincoln book.
Maybe we were just in the same class then. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we worked on a different book, but yeah. So
And
I
then
think theoretically that would work. Just like I said, the challenge is just going to be making sure everyone can show up and do it.
well, if we can, then we can always go back through I think Brian, with the Google.
The Google Slides, I believe you can record over like a slide.
Okay. Then we can always go do that as well if the first option doesn't work, if that's the first option.
And there's a way to do it with PowerPoint too, that you can record over your certain slide.
Right.
Everyone could do that and then send it to me, and I compile it all into one.
Right. So, so should we say March 12th, I guess, is the tentative date for that? For the presentation recording, or what, making sure the slides are combined or whatever we're going to do for that?
Yeah, because I mean, if everything is gonna be cleaned up by March 5th, doing any edits and final cleanup for the paper to be turned in, then what is that, March 11th?
So paper due March 5th, presentation due
You'll be
March
due that
12th.
18th. No, the presentation is due that 18th.
Right, but we're getting together as a group on the 12th.
Well, if we don't get together that on the 12th, I mean, we still have the evenings that week to still record as well. That's what I'm trying to do, give some time in between or thinking about that.
Mhm.
If we haven't already decided on a template to use for the PowerPoint presentation, that kind of stuff, that will still need to be ironed out. What information do we want to go on those slides? So I don't know what kind of turnaround time we're gonna need between, and I don't know if a day is gonna do it, between having the paper cleaned up and then all of a sudden now we're ready to record our presentation if we haven't even decided the template that we're gonna use for the PowerPoint. And then what information, because the information on each slide also needs to be consistent as
Right.
well.
So the paper is due on the 11th. So by the 11th, our paper will be done. So we should be able to put together some bullet points. So you're saying possibly meet somewhere between the 14th and the day the presentation is due? Is that what you're saying?
Papers too. If we have everything cleaned up on the 5th, do we want to have it submitted by the Sunday? No, or by the 5th, and then have it submitted by Sunday, March.
So
6th.
our paper is being submitted on the 11th, right?
Well,
That's
that's when
the
it's due,
paper.
but if everything is cleaned up and ready to be submitted, then we don't need to wait until the 11th to submit it. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So if we wanted to go ahead on and just clean it up, get everything taken care of and submit it by that Sunday, we can also do it then. And then during this week here, if you want to go ahead on and be ready for a recording on that 12th, then we
Right.
would need to be meeting sometime during this same week here, the 7th through the 11th.
Right.
And I don't know what people's evening schedules are looking like. Because again, we'll still need time to work on a PowerPoint template, because I don't want something, I know we don't want to put something together. I mean, we're not trying to do a ton of work on it, but I also don't want a boring presentation.
Well, I think if each of us just come up with our slides and then we meet and show what we have, then Brian can work with us as far as making sure it looks good.
But what I'm saying is, what's the template that we're going to use? There's a lot
Well,
of different formats that we
You
could
can
use.
get,
so
you
that-
can, you can give me whatever slides you created in, and then I can create a template that all looks the same.
Right, and
It's easy to
he can change it up if we need to. Sometimes it's easy to just change the background and stuff like that.
Okay. So if that's the case, then
I'm just a calendar person. I need to know when things are due, so because I'm already kind of swamped with a lot of other stuff. So
March 12th. So if we're cleaning up March 5th, then we're submitting by March 6th, and then we should be ready to record March 12th.
yeah, tentatively, I think that works. Of course, when the others from our group contribute, they might say something different, but it's a plan, to start with, I guess.
And then Brian, are you going to take and like record it so that it's posted on Converted? So there's like a YouTube link to it,
Yep,
that
I
kind
can
of
do it.
thing, or
Yeah, I can do that. Yep.
okay, cool.
So it looks good. Looks like we have a plan. We just need to hear from, I guess, the others. And maybe if this document could be added to our Google Doc, that might be helpful, because then everyone can see whose part is what and all that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna throw this on there because it's on. Oh, that's right. You guys said that you didn't have access. That's weird because I know I came in and shared. Okay.
Did you just share it through Slack? Because I don't see where it's shared.
No, I actually took for this folder and put on your email address.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
It might be because it's not Gmail. Like you'd have to create an account under that live.mdmu.edu. That's why it's easier just to use the Gmail.
Gotcha.
Or I can give you my Gmail as well.
Let me see here. Where was the chat at? Well,
I found it and got in the other way. Thank you.
okay. And then I'll go in and reshare it with your Gmail. Thanks, Vern.
Mhm.
All right, so going back to the organizational structures, because I know we're missing about 3 people. I'm going to send them this recording. Do we want to make sure that, so that it's fair for everybody, that these are the models that we want to use? Make sure everybody has an opportunity to solidify that. So, email it out and then say, hey, by Monday, Slack to make sure that these are the models that we're going to use going forward. Please make sure that you sign up for your section. Please get with your section partner because the completed work is tentatively due on, what did we say?
March 5th.
March 5th. Yeah, for the next Zoom meeting. Okay.
Then another thing we could do also throughout as we're writing it, everybody would be able to see it in the Google slide. Even if you write it in Word and just copy and paste it in there.
Right.
We'll be able to see as we're writing, and then somebody could like write on the Slack, oh, I wrote this part, check it out.
Okay, cool.
And so we can continually making sure it all flows well together.
Mhm. Okay, cool.
Yep, sounds good.
Yep.
And we want to combine, I just want to go back to, because I'm wondering, I noticed you guys said that it's going to be, we're looking at 3 different models right now overlapping or bringing in 3 different models.
Yeah, essentially we're creating a new model because it's not just one model. So
Yeah, no, but I'm saying we want to use 3 organizational models as opposed to 2 organizational models.
I mean, I'm okay with using 2 because it might be simpler.
That's what I'm trying to solidify.
I guess I'm indifferent. I don't think it's going to be any more difficult with 3 or, I mean, it's going to be equally difficult with 2 in my view, if we're trying to cover all the bases, but whatever works for the group works for me.
Well, I don't necessarily know if we need to cover all the bases, because I mean, if we're working around these 2 organizational models, all of our work is geared towards talking about how these models are going to enhance these areas that the president wants to improve on the campus level, like the access, community involvement, bringing in, more community organizational support, that kind of stuff. So that's going to be all in Brian's setup, right, in terms of what she's trying to achieve with those 3 areas. So we're basically gearing everything towards how that's going to improve the campus level between those 3 areas. So everything is always going to flow down, referring back to those things. That's what I'm trying to figure out, if we want to solidify with 3 or solidify with 2, because that's going to also make a difference in what Kara and I write here with number 1.
Well, I think there's a lot of overlap with feminist and collegial. So,
I was gonna say, I would make a push to keep cultural, just given kind of the direction that we're going.
yeah, I agree.
So could we make two of them more of our dominant structures? And then let's say if we want to talk about a third one, we kind of talk about the way in which it's, what's it called? I can't think of the word. It just literally slipped my mind. There's
also-
aspects, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, continue.
No, I was just thinking about something else you said about the other members of the group. They haven't had a chance to vote on
that's
which
true.
structures, so we might want to table it.
Okay.
And you said you're gonna, in the message you're gonna send them, they have to let us know something by Monday, right?
Yeah, so that everybody can get started. I mean, that's going to be going on week 5 anyway. And you know, like you guys, we all working full time. We all still got that work that's doing this program too, in addition to, you know, this work. So we need to wrap up really quickly what we want to talk about. We can't afford to linger.
No, I'm
Can we-
behind. I'm taking 2
I agree.
classes.
Can
Yeah.
we create a poll about the structural organizations? If we're gonna choose 2, if we choose 2 or 3, or just get the highest, like who wants to do, you know, name your top 2.
So like a quick doodle poll or something.
Yes.
I say go for it, Cheryl.
That works.
Brian, I need your help.
I could probably put something in the Slack.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
true. That's true. We do have the Slack things. You don't have to create something new. Forgot about that.
No, I think that'd be cool, and that'd be quick and easy too. So everybody here is already signed up, and then we just need, let me see, Scott. So it'll be what, 1, 2. For the conclusion, I guess we do need a member for the conclusion. Because if we only missing one area here to partner with Cheryl, one person here to partner with Katima, and then I guess that other member can work here on the conclusion.
Maybe if you need another place to add someone, maybe someone can help Brian with the introduction.
I don't know.
The introduction might be good coming from one voice, as long as everyone agrees with whatever I write. And if you don't, you just yell at me. I'm okay with that too. But I think I will go with the case studies. I'll use that as a template, and I'll just create something, and I think that's a great way to start it.
Yeah, and then I like somebody who can read through and then they can write a valid conclusion, summarizing everything. Yeah. So we got, yeah.
Oh, so it's enough spots then? You said.
Yeah, it'll be enough for the
Okay.
last 3 people to sign up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for a spot.
So what do you want the poll to say? Like, what your top 2 would be?
Yes, I was about to send you a message in the chat how I can help, how I can be of assistance. That's what I'm
Alright.
thinking. What do you all think? Like what Katima said, so everyone can have a say in, you know, what we're going to use. Yeah, what are your top 2 or top 3 for the organizational structure for our college? And as far as what the school is trying to achieve, Alex, you said access, community involvement, and partnerships.
Well, those are the things that we had talked about, you know, in terms of the areas that we want. I guess if we're talking about a new president coming in, and these are the areas that she wants to focus on, And then what organizational areas or organizational models will help her enhance or increase those specific areas that she wants to work on. So we talked about access for local and FLI students, yeah. More community involvement. That's something that we talked about. Did we talk about shared governance? I don't know if we still want to work on that one. I know that in this first prompt here that Kara and I are going to be talking about, it definitely needs to talk about, be geared towards diverse populations, which I think the access will address though anyway, so we don't really have to worry about it.
I think if we do access and community, it's great. If we wanted to add something else or change it, then do retention, because retention and access kind of go hand in hand. It'll boost retention if you're providing better access.
Okay.
And they're like hot button issues in higher education right now.
They are.
What we could do, I'm throwing this out, you can disagree, is that we could place the university on the East Coast, specifically in the Mid-Atlantic, New England area, where right now enrollment issues are a huge deal because of the population decline. There's not as many students, but there's an overabundance of colleges here. So we could use access and retention as the main point of why we're saying the organization structure needs to change.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That makes sense.
So then that way you're focusing on access and retention, which are two things that are easy to combine together. You can still throw in community and getting community local businesses and stuff. Maybe local businesses could help with providing jobs or grants or something for first-time low-income students. Like, everyone like that idea?
Yeah, also businesses might partner with the school to help train their employees and stuff like that. So
yeah,
Could also be the reverse with internships and things like that.
right.
And those partnerships will help support a lot of programs at the universities regarding access, like the TRIO programs and those things. So,
and if the chance of getting a job or getting an internship is high at the institution, it's going to increase retention.
Right.
yes, and receive grants from the government.
So yeah, I think this is a good foundation. I'm sure the people who are missing are going to have a lot to contribute as well. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to work with.
Alice, I have to thank you for setting this all up. Your document here is well organized and ordered. That's wonderful.
Oh no, I'm telling you, when I looked at group 2 stuff, I mean, I was like, oh, we need to get on the ball.
Wow.
It was no joke. I'm telling you, this structure literally came from their structure. And I was like, it made a lot of sense. So I'm like, and apply. Yeah.
Well, thank you anyways for getting us going.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad I reached out to you because I had no idea, because I'm in the cross-listed class.
Mhm.
I didn't really know what was going on in terms of the group project. So I reached out to Alice about it.
What's that? Okay, cool. Now, as long as we can get it all taken care of, that's all that matters to me, that we all working together. I got this, once we're done, I'll send out this recording so that everybody can, especially with the ideas that you just talked about as well with the, where it's located, enrollment and access, that's all gonna play a huge part of what we write. So again, I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of this recording. I'm gonna put this updated information on the drive, on Google Drive, and then I'll make sure to add your Gmail account so that you have access to that as well. So I guess at this point, the next steps would be, Brian, you'll be taking and creating a Google poll or some kind of poll for us, so we can narrow down or solidify really the organizational structures that we're gonna be working on. Who said something? Who? Oh, okay. Solidifying our organizational structures that we're gonna be working on, and then depending on where the other members sign up, I guess you all need to coordinate with each other, or we'll all need to coordinate between our sections in terms of what areas we want to write on, what do we want to emphasize, so that we're not overemphasizing the same things within our papers. Oh, that was the other thing that we should have discussed too. Since we know it needs to be between 10 and 20 pages, do we want to write 2.5 pages? Do we want to write a total of just 2 pages? I think 2 pages at, because, you know, like you said with Brian, I don't know if the introduction necessarily needs to be a full 2 pages. It might only be just a full page. Even though I know you said 1.5 pages, but you know.
And realistically, if Brian is organizing all and formatting and all that kind of stuff for us, I am more than happy to pick up more of the writing slack and be quite thankful for him for formatting.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say 2 to 3 pages should be good. Just give us that window of 2 to 3.
Yeah. Because even at a solid 2 without Brian, that's still 14 pages. Even if the conclusion is just a page, that'll put us right at 13. It should. Yeah. 12,
Yeah,
13, 14. So minimum maybe 4 pages, even if Brian is writing a page and the conclusion is a page. I think we should be good.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have any trouble reaching the page requirement.
Yeah, I think the page requirement will be easy.
Okay.
And
All right,
like I
cool.
said, I don't think we want to shoot to go to 20 when if
No.
we can do 13 or 14, because I think if we overwork it, it's not going to be for any reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So at most, we say 3 pages, you know, minimum 2.
That sounds good to me.
All right. So I need to go because I have to catch up on work for this week. I'm behind in this class. I'm taking 2 classes, so I'm trying to balance that along with working a full-time job.
You taking 2 classes a term?
Yes, this term I am, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
why it's because I was not properly advised. So I'm making up for that.
Oh,
Unfortunately, but
wow. Okay.
my teaching load is a little less this semester, so I'm just kind of taking advantage of that now.
Gotcha. All right,
Nice.
cool. So yeah. All right, everybody. It was cool. Good to see you guys. We
Yeah,
got a
thank
plan,
you.
so that's good.
Thank you, group.
Thank you.
All right, thanks
Bye.
everybody. Bye. Have a good
Bye-bye.
weekend.
You
You too.
too.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.